Bam. Bam. Oddly enough, I I was I was in Iowa like 2 weeks ago, and let me fix this again. This is annoying. And oh, I don't want to do it that way. Oh gosh, let me get this right. Okay. And there were some family members there, and I was like, "Hey, let me just check something." I was like, "Hey, this is probably the worst start I've ever had, but I've been, come on, you can forgive me." Okay, so I was in Iowa, and they're like, "Hey, we got this dog." It was a little puppy. It was a husky. It was a beautiful thing, and they were like, "Hey," I got to look up a little bit at the camera. I'm sorry. So can you like there? That's the camera. Um, they're like, "Hey," I can talk in the camera all the time now. They're like, I was like, "What's the name of the dog?" And they're like, "The name of the dog is Bam." And I was like, "Bam? Really?" So now when I do Bam, I thought it was a ripoff of Emerald Lagasse, but now it's not. I'm just naming my family member's dog. Just calling its name. Cute dog. Have you ever seen a baby husky? Oh my God. So much energy. Well, now that you've heard my story about a dog that you guys have never seen, and I don't know how you even got on my live stream because we know that there's not like millions of people just fighting to get on here. Maybe you want to know what you've stumbled on. Well, my name is John Schenk. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential firm. We help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. In the meantime, when I'm not doing that, I'm live streaming. And the live stream is called Deerwood Realty and Friends, or the Deerwood Realty live stream, depending on the day. And we talk about lots of things. We talk about popular culture. We talk about real estate articles. We talk about the market, the real estate market. Do we get into agent recruiting? Not too much. It's not something that interests me. I'm a broker, but I really mainly started my brokerage so that I could work with people and not be bothered by the silliness that is real estate brokerages and their talk. Now, one of the things I've noticed is being kind of an outsider all of my life that I don't get a lot of ability to shill for products. So like you won't see me shilling for stuff I don't know anything about on YouTube or anywhere else. And that's kind of the downside. But if you are interested in like real estate, like I think that you're in the right place. See, at least on the residential side. So you should probably subscribe. You should probably tell your friends to subscribe, and actually anybody to subscribe. I've got 99 subscribers. I so want 100. You have no idea. And when I got to 50 subscribers, I was like, wow, I made it. 50 subscribers. And then immediately, before I could even do my 50th subscriber special, I lost 2 subscribers. And it took like a month to get to 50 again. So, hey, it's one of those things. I hope you're having a good evening. It's Labor Day weekend. It's Monday. We all go back to work tomorrow. I've been working all day on my live stream. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's see. The real thing that we're going to go over tonight is the rent versus buy question. It's cropped up in the last, I'd say, week and a half. And we'll just look at 2 articles and see what they have to say. And then I'll let you know what I think about rent versus buy. I think it's a reasonable question to ask. But I mean, it's a kind of a one that gets framed, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to rent? Well, we'll find reasons for you to rent. If you want to buy, we'll find reasons for you to buy. That's what I mean by framing. So we'll talk about that. That's the big topic today. But we'll still go over some of our fun stuff that we see online and go from there. Now, I have a confession to make. I've completely changed my set. I am not in the same location as I was yesterday, even after I told you that I wasn't going to do that today. I've changed the lighting. I think you can tell how different it is. Um, Hopefully you think that the picture looks good. I worked really hard on getting you a nice clear picture. But today my wife has told me I need to clean my office for like a year. And I want to clean my office, but I also want to do a lot of other things. Cleaning the office to me doesn't make me any money. It just, and there's so much stuff. Like I used to do newsletters. I used to print newsletters. So I have folders, like newsletter, like printing folders. I don't do newsletters anymore. At least not printed. I don't do a lot of stuff anymore. I used to cut up cards, postcards, and do my own postcards. Don't do that anymore. I don't do much anything when it comes to mailing. I just didn't have any success with it. I was spending thousands of dollars a month and not getting anywhere. And I decided that wasn't the way I want to do things. Now I might have the pop filter messed up. I'd like my pop filter, I don't know, wire or whatever isn't long enough. If I were to connect it, the only way I could connect it higher is it would be on the microphone. So I think that was not a good idea. Anyway, let's continue. So this morning, what happened this morning? I came downstairs and I started working. Like for me to clean the office, okay, to straighten it up, I'm going to have to reorganize stuff because my lighting was wrong. And I figured my enjoyment, honestly, is streaming. I like it. I would love for more people to be on with me, chatting with me. But I love it. And so I knew that the first thing I had to do was figure out where I was going to put my desk, where I was going to put the lights. So that's what I did. Here's my hand. And I felt like everything else can kind of, work its way through after that. So my old setup, I had a lens that I could automatically zoom in with. This is a fixed lens. I believe it's the 16 millimeter Sigma lens. And so I had to set it up so it was like this. But in the old camera lens, I could just zoom in and you wouldn't see the printer or the window. I blacked out the window, but you could still see it, and it annoyed me in the videos. And I also don't like wires hanging down in my videos, so that's why I would crop it. Now, I moved to a back wall. It's much nicer. And then I had to change the lighting, and hopefully you're okay with the lighting. I'm checking the exposure or the metered exposure. I'm at like 0 where I want to be, or like 0.3 would be fine too. I've got a little backlighting now, which I like, and hopefully you're happy, because that was my goal. My goal was to make a more quality stream available for you. Now, even if we go to, like I told you yesterday, I can't get up to 4K on my camera the way it's set up. It leaves these, like, my beard, it looks kind of grainy. I don't know why that is, but I'm getting tired and I'm not going to deal with it anymore. This is, just so you know, this is the default setup from now until I get bored. And hopefully it's not going to be for a while. I had to move. Let's just talk about that. 45 years old. I don't know. Have you had the joys of having a desktop computer that just sits and just collects dusts even though you're using it, and there's like these dust mites and dust, they call them dust bunnies. I've had a number of computers and I never even did anything about it. But my wife today, she said, hey, you can use a Clorox wipe and then clean that up. And so I literally took every single piece of equipment and I wiped it off with a Clorox wipe. It was covered in dust. And then I cleaned every wire. And my desk, I'm not going to show you my desk, but it's a total mess right now. I've honestly spent all day today, again, working on my setup. And then when I did get done, I didn't get done. When I did get it all cleaned, I plugged it in, and then my audio was messed up. And so tonight, if my audio is still down, let me check the settings. If I've been talking this whole time and my settings or my camera's been down. I'm really sorry. No, it's going. I don't know what happened. But it was not happy. I plugged it in the back of the computer. I thought that was a good idea, but it just didn't. It didn't work. I've got to figure out a way to get more sound out of my mic, more volume. I've got it on 100% on my 100% in my computer settings. I've got it set pretty high in the settings. I use Voicemeeter. So if anybody out there can help me, I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it a lot. So, it's 9:00 Central Time. I did go have lunch with my stepdaughter. We went to Wendy's. I did have an ice cream with my wife. We went to Oberweis on Telegraph in Oakville. But other than that, I've been on this thing all day long, and I hope that it shows. I hope that you can see that. I hope that my efforts were worth it. I feel like when I look at the camera, when I look at everything the way it's set up, I feel like I'm maybe 100% better than I was. But then when I look at the live stream, like last night I watched one of my live streams with the new camera, my first one, maybe, or my second one, I don't remember now. It looked really good, but it took a while to get fully, I don't know how to put it, like the screen to look really, really clear like it is now. And like I'm looking and there's like light like on this side. I'm bald and I'm not going to wear makeup to be on a live stream. That seems weird. So we're just going to have to deal with it. So I'm excited. I'm also tired. When I get tired, I tend to not talk very much. Oh my God. So apologies in advance. Let's get to, I did want to say something. Let's put this up. Did I plug this in? I'm just going to put this up here. Have you had this before? It won't focus because I've got it set so it just checks up. It'll always be on my face first. If I put my face in front, it will. Let me get it straight. That's what I'm having. It's pretty good. Oh, God. Okay. I'm just setting my phones up for tonight. And if you're like, get on with it, hurry up, get to the information. I'm not. Today's not that day. I'm just happy to be able to string to you at all. Oh. All right. 13 minutes in. I think we should get into the first, I don't know, bit of news, bit of information. So, I'm on the Twitter a lot. And by the way, I apologize. I say that and I didn't put an announcement that I was going to be on tonight. So if there's no one here all night, I'm sorry. I'll do better tomorrow. So I was on Twitter and I like the Twitter. It's not perfect. Okay. It's definitely not. It's got some issues. But I was on there and there was an article linked and it was, don't drink, like someone said, it's okay. We need to have a talk about drinking recycled wastewater or poo water. And the guy on Twitter's like, no, we don't. And then I was doing something else and I forgot. So then I was like, I think that's something worth talking about. I'll take a stab at it on the live stream. So, interesting. I don't know what this button does. I'm going to try this. If everything blows up, then don't make fun of me. Oh, wow. It does full screen. Can I still share my screen? Oh, I'm already am. But see, in full screen, I can't. I love it. It looks great. But I can't get to. Interesting. All right. Well, I got to get out of there. Hopefully that didn't cause too much trouble with the computer. I apologize for it. So anyway, let's take a look at it right there. I was on the Google, and I'm going to go there now. It says, do we drink recycled sewage water? And I was looking at this and look at it. It's like, how many articles came out a week ago about people drinking poo water? It says, I drink it. The Premier backs recycled water amidst opposition challenge. If the experts say it's safe, of course I would. And so there's just a lot of talk about poo water. And let me just go from where, let me go from where I'm sitting. I think that people have lost faith in institutions. And I think that that's with good reason. I believe down in Mississippi this week, they don't have drinking water. There was the Flint water crisis. My wife, big on bottled water when I met her. And I was like, hey, you don't have to drink bottled water. You can just drink out of the tap, because it's free. And she said, okay, no. And so I said, okay, well, when we buy a refrigerator, I'm going to buy one with a real good filter on it so that we can drink water out of the tap and it goes through the filter. And she said, okay, no. So we've always had bottled water at the house. She also likes to drink water that's like room temperature, where I think that's terrible. Would never do that. But, it is what it is. So we've always had in the house, drinking water was bottled water. We're going to go on I'm not going to tell you about that yet because it's a secret. But anyway, yeah, we drink a lot of bottled water. I don't drink enough water as it is. But the more things you do to the water supply, okay? So the more recycled waste you put in the water supply, the less people are going to want to drink it. They're just going to buy bottled water. Now you say, well, maybe they can't afford. Every single policy designed for the environment is meant to just crush poor people. They're always the ones that get crushed first. Every environmental policy. Like, look at the car situation in California. They say we're going to get rid of gasoline engines. You won't be able to buy a car with a gasoline engine. You'll only be able to buy electric. Just this past weekend, they said, oh, by the way, don't use your air conditioner or charge your electric car because we're going to have blackouts. And so I mean, most people would say, look, you are not a smart person. You have told me I need to switch to something, and yet we don't have the infrastructure for it. Same thing will be true with the water. Like, if I've done a live stream on Israel's water situation, and when you look at how great they've done, okay, then you look at the United States, and literally we can have water coming out of the streets, leaking all over the place. I mean, I'm all for conservation. I really am. And I'm very uncomfortable with what I would call speaking things into being in a negative way. So when you say we don't have enough drinking water, or we're not going to have enough drinking water, I feel like you're putting that out there so that we don't. It's just like we're going to run out of fuel. Well, yes, but when you're putting it out there, it's like, in the 1980s, they said we're not going to have enough food. Now, these things could happen. I mean, right now, I feel like Western civilization is really a mess. But obviously, I don't trust the institutions to solve the water crisis because they're not good at anything else. So here we go. So Don't be squeamish about drinking water, reused water in the UK. I figured I'd pull that one up. That was on the Washington Post. So let's just go take a look. I don't want to drink poo water. This is me. And you may say like, oh, you're being, I don't like, have you seen the articles about the amount of like plastic that's in the water? Like plastic chemicals? When they were, I'm not going to get too high into it, but some of these diseases that we're finding are like these outbreaks. They're looking in the sewage and they're seeing like people get these. Anyway, don't be squeamish about drinking reused wastewater. UK official says. This came out the 29th. I'm sorry, I've just gotten to it today. I don't know what it says. People need to be less squeamish about drinking water that's derived from wastewater, the head of Britain's environmental agency says, as a way to tackle water shortages and increasingly severe drought. No. The idea of recycling wastewater for human consumption, once the realm of dystopian sci-fi films, is gaining traction globally as climate change intensifies drought. Source. Like, this is the same kind of thought. Like, have you seen, they say you're supposed to start eating mealworms because they've got lots of protein? I don't want to eat worms. And by the way, if economics are working, which they would, if people would stop screwing with things, if you let economics work, you would have no shortages. I promise you. Never a shortage. But, we're not letting the economy work anywhere in the world. It's causing problems. And I'm familiar with this idea that, in economics, it's I don't have the term in front of me because I haven't there's this idea that, like, let's say a business, we'll talk about it. Let's say a business is a chemical company, okay? And so they start polluting an ocean. Well, let's do a river, sorry. Now, this has been done in the United States, of course. But what happened, there's this economic principle that says there wasn't an economic incentive for them not to pollute the river, so they did. And so that's where I say the government does need to step in. I believe that the government should have. I think the government should protect the environment in the sense that they write rules that everyone can achieve. They need to monitor the playing field, for instance. They do not need to, you should have it simply that says, hey, Mr. Chemical Company, the amount of your waste should be within this parameters. Done. And then they should go test that one, and they should test every chemical company, and that's the way it should go. It shouldn't be this, I think they call it a negative externality. I don't know. But this could be solved, in my opinion, through economics. The same thing's true with, I think, drinking water. The same thing's true with gasoline. I think that we could fix all of these issues. I don't think I'm for mileage, like across a fleet of cars, or a brand. I don't know that I'm for that. I don't think I need to say a gasoline engine must produce, 40 miles per gallon. I'm not really into that. But I could see where I could say to all the automakers like this, I don't know that I would say maybe tailpipe emissions. Maybe that's what's causing the electric rush. But I don't know. I just feel like, you remember, what was it called? Like SpaceX or something? They used to have these prizes for them to find out things and do things. I don't know if they're still doing it, but anyway. Long story short, I think that we could find an economically viable way to produce clean drinking water that would be much better than master planning. Says the idea of recycling wastewater for human consumption, once the realm of dystopian sci-fi films, is gaining traction globally as climate change intensifies droughts. We said that already. Part of the solution will be to reprocess the water that results from sewage treatment and turn it back into drinking water. Perfectly safe and healthy, but not something many people fancy, James Bevan wrote in Britain's Sunday Times newspaper as the country swelters through a record-breaking hot and dry summer. I mean, okay, and then my solution is going to be I'm going to buy water. And Frank Hebert, I don't know if that's it, but that's I used to know Guy Hebert. He was a goalie for the Blues. 1965 novel Dune, inhabitants of a desert planet wear still suits designed to capture their sweat, urine, and yes, feces and recycle it. The idea is still mired in fiction, but once derided toilets to tap programs are becoming a reality in places including the Los Angeles area. Perth, Australia's most water-parched big city, has said that eventually all of its wastewater could be recycled and put back into drinking water. This seems like a bad idea. I mean, I'm just saying. It seems like a bad idea. Water officials in London faced backlash in 2013 when they first introduced recycling toilet waste into the city's tap water to avoid looming water shortages. So they faced backlash in 2013. People were like, don't do it, don't do it. But these are officials, these are government officials, and so they just waited. They're like, okay, well, we won't do it now. But the next time they did it, the next time they said they would do it, there was less. It's the Overton window situation. Now many parts of the United Kingdom are grappling with low water supplies in reservoirs and rivers following months of record low rainfall and unprecedented high temperatures. The government officially declared a drought across swaths of England this month. We need to remember where it comes from when we turn on the tap. What comes out started in a lake, river, or aquifer. The more we take, the more we drain those sources and put stress on nature and wildlife. I don't know. Many parts of Europe have seen their driest summer on record as rivers dwindle to a trickle. Water shortages have become a problem in Spain, Italy, France, and the Netherlands. Bevan acknowledges that recycling wastewater for drinking could be unpopular, but said people need to change the way they think about water. I'm all for that. I really do care about the environment. Okay. I'm not like climate change. Okay. I think that the climate will always change no matter what we do. I mean, there was one time where the magnetic north and south switched. We didn't have anything to do with that. But I'm looking for solutions that can make everyone better, but not be heavy-handed. I don't know if that makes any sense. It says Britain's water companies have been under the spotlight lately amid water leakages and sewage dumps that have polluted waterways, killing fish in the toxic waste and eroding trust in the water regulators. This is my point 100%. Look, you can't even run it without you keep putting you're putting waste in the water and we're not even trying to drink it. Like you fix your stuff first, then we can talk about poo water. It says proponents of recycled drinking water say it goes through a stringent process before it reaches household taps. Yes, I believe that's true. In theory, it would be absolutely perfect. There would never be any issues. But put the human condition in it, and all of a sudden we've got a bunch of problems and people are drinking poo water. First is treating in a waste treatment plant before being passed through coarse and fine screens to filter out debris. It then goes through a process known as reverse osmosis. Water experts say to remove pathogens, viruses, and bacteria. In the final step, the water is disinfected using ultraviolet light. I'll never forget Trump was totally ridiculed for his idea that ultraviolet light might kill certain viruses. Turns out that's what they do. But anyway, let's just see how this paragraph and the one before it kind of make all the difference in the world. Britain's water companies have been under the spotlight lately amid water leakages and sewage dumps that have polluted waterways, killing fish in the toxic waste and eroding trust in water regulators. Every single institution I've seen in my lifetime has gotten worse. It's gotten worse. And the people are supposed to be smarter. They hire more employees. We spend more money on it. but it's just gotten worse, and it just keeps getting worse. I mean, let's talk about the Capri Sun situation. Like what, last week? You know, you've got children drinking Capri Sun that's got cleaner in it. Okay. And they say the cleaner is not going to kill you. It just makes you taste a little bit funny. All right, fine. You know, okay. It's just bad. In Singapore, a craft brewing company announced in July that it was working with the National Water Agency to produce a beer made entirely from recycled wastewater to help raise awareness of environmental issues. BrewWorks said at the time it was an opportunity to cast the spotlight on climate change impacts such as drought and floods which threaten the world's water supply. Again, no one's disagreeing that there's climate change, but it's what to do about it. And drinking wastewater, when you can't simply manage the water right now, seems to be an issue. It says the tasting notes describe the beer as highly quaffable, perfect for Singapore's tropical climate with a smooth, toasted, honey-like aftertaste. I don't want to drink poo water. Does it make me a bad person? Okay. All right. Well, I think we should move on. How about it? So the main articles tonight, the main thoughts is an age-old real estate question. Should I rent or should I buy? All right. We're going to go into what they say, and then we'll go into what I say. Okay. Here we go. Oh, sorry about that. It says rising mortgage rates complicate decision on buying versus renting. The costs of buying and renting have risen rapidly, but mortgage payments are the highest on record relative to rents. Okay. This is from the Wall Street Journal. It says home buyers are feeling the pinch of rising costs more than renters. The median monthly mortgage payment was almost 1.5 times as much as the median monthly asking rent in the second quarter, the largest differential in records going back to 2009, according to data tracked by the Mortgage Bankers Association and Industry Trade Group. Now, I have some trepidation with those statistics in the sense that I know that rents are also rising. I also know that if people are paying, 6% on their mortgage, that if they're buying a house to rent out and they're, investor mortgages are usually not at the 30-year fixed rate. I mean, you can get around it for a little while, but at some point in time, if you've got an investment, you're going to be paying more than the mortgage, the average mortgage rate. So anyway, let's continue. It says home prices and rents have risen briskly over the past year and a half, but the rising relative cost of buying is largely the result of additional interest buyers are paying when they lock in the mortgages at the highest rates in years. I don't know that that's 100% true, because what I would be also saying is that people are paying more than they've ever paid for homes that are available for purchase due to inflation. It's a double whammy. Not only are the mortgage rates high, but home prices are through the roof. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate rose 5.66 this week, nearly double what it was a year earlier, according to Freddie Mac's survey. The shift is a shock for many buyers because low interest rates in the past few years had ushered in a period of greater affordability and brought many first-time home buyers into the market. I don't necessarily agree with that. What I've seen is the low interest rates caused kind of a mania, which caused home prices to rise much higher than they should have, in my opinion. And then that really didn't help the affordability at the end of the day. It caused a kind of a bubble. It says in the fourth quarter of 2020, median mortgage payments and asking rents were basically equal at just under $1,200. Since then, rents have risen 10% to $1,314 in June, according to Census Bureau data, while mortgage rates have risen 58% to $1,893, according to MBA mortgage application data. The ratio between the two stood at 1.44. I don't know about that. So here we go, fourth quarter 2020, and we see that it's like this, but right here it was not. And it's traditionally been around here. It says The ratio is a great indicator for households deciding should we rent or should we go ahead and buy, said Edward Seiler, a housing economist at the MBA, which is the Mortgage Bankers Association. By some measures, housing is the least affordable in decades because the rise in rates has collided with a jump in home prices, which is what I said earlier. With inflation hitting all facets of daily life, the higher costs of buying are encouraging some prospective buyers to bite the bullet and keep renting, even if their landlords are asking for more money. That's the issue. I know many, many people who are looking to buy a home. They can't really buy a home, and their rents are rising on them. Look, landlords are going to take what they can get. They are not the type of people to sit there and say, oh, well, you don't, oh, someone over there is getting $1,000 more per rent than I am for a month. We'll fix that. It says Melissa Ciani and her family went under contract earlier this year to buy a newly built home in Texas, but the completion date was delayed several months past when they needed to relocate from Alabama. They backed out of the purchase and opted to rent instead. While their rent is more than they expected to pay, it is still less than the mortgage payments they would have been. The combination of the prices of houses plus the interest rates is making it hard to afford, she said, buying a home. Her family expects to stay in Texas about 3 years. I'm hoping the market calms down a little bit for our next move. I would say, like myself, I'm not the typical person because I just stay in the city. Like I stay in St. Louis. I'm not thinking about moving in 3 years or 4 years or 10 years or anything. I'm not changing houses. The decline in affordability is pressuring the housing market. Some 16% of buyers in contract to purchase a home in July backed out. According to a Redfin analysis, home price growth slowed in June and existing home sales have been falling for months. In certain locations, yes. In other locations, still very, very hot. Clients that I've worked with might have been able to afford a more expensive home at lower interest rates. That's true. Because interest rates have gone up, they're priced out of the home they wanted. That's also true. Alex and Ashley Zanikis went back to renting, at least temporarily, when they moved to Tucson in August. They sold their home in the Denver area, but found that buying a similarly priced home would cost over $1,000 more a month because interest rates had risen so much since they got their sub 3% mortgage last year. What are you doing moving in a year? Like, clearly you're not doing what I would say, which is you need to think about, like, if you're going to live in a house, you need to wait for about 5 years. Like, assume that you're going to live there for 5 years, not 1 year and move out. I mean, you're already in a bad spot. So they signed a 9-month lease for a townhome, which, by the way, we wouldn't do normally because that's against the statute of frauds in Missouri. You need to sign at least a 1-year lease. Where they had the option to keep renting on a monthly basis afterward, they planned to buy a house in the mid 400 range, below the more than 600 they sold for, but they aren't in a huge rush. We're going to be paying more for interest, but I don't think rates will be this high forever. They may not be, but every month you aren't owning a home, you're not getting a chance to build equity. The affordability challenges may be easing up slightly. The median mortgage payment fell to $1,844 in July, and it may continue to fall if home prices and mortgage rates moderate. They're not going to moderate on the mortgage side. They're going to try and stop inflation by raising the borrowing rate and the interest rate, and that is going to cause a problem in mortgages over time. Not directly, not one-to-one, but last week we jumped into the sixes for the first time in a while. It says, moreover, the median mortgage cost for buyers in the 25th percentile, a proxy for first-time home buyers who typically purchase cheaper homes, is still below the median asking rent, despite rises along with the rest of the market. I don't agree with this. Okay. I think rents are rising as fast as home prices. And I think that as they rise, you've got a serious problem, because how do you save for a down payment on a house when you're just, all your money's going to rent? Many Americans are still in a good position to buy, even if they have to reduce their budgets to compensate for higher mortgage costs. Consumers built up savings over the course of the pandemic and received pay bumps because the hot labor market gave workers more power to demand them. They may reason that the higher costs of buying are justified in part because mortgage payments are typically locked in for many years to come, while rents increase over time. I think that buying a house, if you're going to live in one place, and it's really tough. If you have your dream home and it's 6% and you can afford it, buy it and then wait until mortgage rates change and refinance. If you're in a transition home where you're moving in a year, you should be renting. That's an obvious choice. It's not hard. This isn't difficult. It says people have started to come to acceptance with the rates. It's no longer a struggle or fight with folks. What are you doing as a lender fighting with folks? I'm just checking the chat, just to make sure nobody just jumped in there and just started chatting and I was gone. All right, let's move on. So I don't think it's complicated at all. This article to me is not complicated at all. It's not difficult at all. It's obvious what you should be doing in the marketplace based on what your plans are. Moving on. Buying or renting, the old question is back. Now, this is a different article. It was from the Epoch Times. Every young person, this is an op-ed. Hopefully, I don't know if that other one was that. I don't know if that was the one in the Wall Street Journal. Now, every young person, if it is, I'm kind of embarrassed right now. I would hide, but I mean, I've done stupid things before online, so this is not new. Every young person moving into adulthood faces the great question of whether to buy or rent their primary residence. That question just became more complicated. Every young person moving into adulthood faces. That's not, to me, an issue. You get your job, you rent until you can afford to put down a down payment, and then you buy a starter home. The ratio between the two just expanded to the greatest gap since 2008. It does not favor buying. Mortgage rates have made buying completely unaffordable, even for those who can get a mortgage. That's why housing demand has suddenly fallen off a cliff. The Mortgage Bankers Association reports that before lockdowns, median mortgage payments and asking rents were equal at $1,200. The choice was really about making the best choice to fit with career plans and duration of residency. Since lockdowns, rents have risen 10%, while mortgage payments have risen 15%. Now it's a different matter. It's about figuring out how to avoid being pillaged. Maybe the answer seems to favor renting, but not so fast. Rental vacancies are now lower as a percentage of overall units on the market than they have been since 1983. That means it's not so easy to get a place to live. The sheer number of applications means that renters can be extremely fussy about whom they accept or reject. A sketchy job history, an uncertain living situation, a ding on your credit report can all lead to a turn down. Plus, the terms can be egregious. Long leases, huge upfront payments, and strict terms for breaking them. Or rent. Meanwhile, we've not seen this much upward price pressure on rents in nearly 40 years. But put yourself out there as the home buyer's market and be prepared for sticker shock. Prepare yourself. I agree with this. So many people think that, I'll just go buy a house. And it's like, have you seen what you can get for your money? The median home price has doubled since 2007. Doubled. And it's not just the price of homes, it's the stringent credit conditions plus stunning mortgage rates that mean paying far more for far less. Once you add in the homeowners association fees plus property taxes, it starts to feel utterly crazy, say nothing of maintenance. Facts. There used to be a time when we all had disposable income and we could go out in our backyard and garden. I mean, now it's just like, good Lord, what's going to happen next? It says, just sent, oh goodness, I might not be able to, it's probably not going to let me do it because I went to the Epoch Times. Oh, maybe it will. We'll just keep going. It says, just since January, the number of homes sold in the United States has fallen 26%. Yeah, but one might suppose this would lead to dramatic downward price pressure, but that's not what happened in the economy with unrelenting currency devaluation. Yeah. Prices have softened, to be sure, but we won't see a crash like 2008. That's because the purchasing power of money in general is falling. This is a good article. I kind of agree with that. The inflation virus strikes in ways that are impossible to predict. Housing is cooled and so is jet fuel. There are no bargains in housing, but you can fly coast to coast now for about $150. September flights from New York to Miami are rock bottom prices not seen in decades. That's because airlines have so tightly managed bookings that even small changes in consumer demand reflect very quickly in wonderful bargains. So while the flights are cheap, the hotels, food, and entertainment once you get to your destination aren't. And this is why so many consumers today are rethinking travel plans. But staying home is no great stakes either, because electric and other utility bills are right now absorbing the highest level of inflation in energy. Real-time year-over-year increases are running 14.6%. Those price hits renters and buyers equally. Yes. So much for the old saw that buying a home is an investment while renting is just throwing money away. In today's market, the opposite trend's true. The more you save by renting instead of buying is money that you can invest. Well, that's always been the argument. That's always been. How many people do you know that actually held up and did save their money renting and use that cash and made a return on their investment that was higher than that if they just bought a house? We know that the housing market doubled since 2007 based on this own article. Of course, it would be nice to have a good investment hand. Nearly half of U.S. households have nothing left after paying bills for investment. Saving rates keep falling and have hit 5%. Credit card debt is rising. Among those who can afford to invest, getting a return above inflation is nearly impossible. If inflation is 8%, I mean, that's a pretty good number. The Fed seems to be determined to deliver unrelenting bad news to the stock market, even regarding bear markets, as a sign of success. That's because the current Fed policy isn't about sponging up the liquidity it dumped by the many trillions during the 2020 and 21. Yes, I mean, there's a lot of people that have caused this issue. A lot. Again, the same as with the water. If I could actually trust these people to run something, not and run it into the ground, not only will they run it into the ground, they'll face no consequences. They'll probably get promoted. It's really bad. Meanwhile, the latest employment report offers only more confusion. More jobs, yes, but the labor force participation is still stuck far below pre-lockdown levels. Worker to population levels are the same. The unemployment rate is ticking up, nowhere near alarming levels, but the trend is only going to get worse over the month as we all settle in the reality that the recession is real. Indeed, as I've argued, the recession never really went away. And I think that, it's not a good situation. If you look at the jobs, people are working multiple jobs. That means that they're not being paid enough at one job to make it. I don't think anybody wants to work two jobs. That's why the Biden administration is pivoting so fast from bragging about the economy to warning about threats to democracy and the rising of semi-fascism from the MAGAs and the Republican Party. They don't have a virus to scare people anymore. People are fed up with that. Now they are talking about threats to freedom and rights as if people are supposed to forget that the main threat to freedom and rights over these 19 months have been the White House itself. That's what I read. I didn't say any of that. The point here is drawn from Carl Schmitt, who in 1932 wrote the manual for rallying people around a regime that is otherwise unable to elicit popular confidence. The idea is to create, even invent, an enemy to become the other. The great threat to the friendship of the collective. That's what is happening now. Even the theatrical backdrops to President Joe Biden's latest speeches make the point. The regime is cracking down and doing so by calling all dissidents enemies of the state. This increasingly difficult economic choices we face today are emblematic of much larger and even more profound choices we must make today. We must decide what kind of society we want to live in. Do we want endless conflict plus growing poverty and dictatorship from the elite class? Or do we want to live in freedom, prosperity, and the rule of law? All choices we face today pale in comparison to that one. Now, it's very interesting. The article, I mean, what would you say? 60% of the article, we're talking about housing. Then all of a sudden it veers off into this, this situation. We go back to the question, cheaper to rent or buy? I don't think that's the question you should be asking. I don't even know if the right question is, should you rent or buy? If you're going to stay someplace for a long period of time, if you're making a life choice, then you should buy. You say, well, John, I'm not going to get the house that I want. You know what? You may not. You may not. Life isn't always fair. Okay? But look, if you say like, well, I'm going to wait until I get, I'm going to save my money. I'm going to be able to buy a bigger house, a better house. You could do that. But rents aren't going to stay like down when vacancies are high, or when um, the word isn't vacancies. When occupancy is high, they're only going to go up. It's a bad situation. It's very strange right now in the economy. Like, there are bad things going on. Okay. For instance, let's talk about some bad things. Like, wages are suppressed relative to inflation. Okay. That's not good. The cost of services is high. Like, you want somebody to be a plumber, you want somebody to fix your pipes, you want somebody to fix your electricity. Those costs are high. If you look at automobiles, if you can even get the parts for your car, I mean, what are we running at? We're running at more than $80 an hour at mechanics shops. I mean, lots. I mean, very, very expensive. Everything's expensive. Okay. It's not good. We have people working 2 jobs just to make it. Credit card debt soaring. Not good. Not good. These are warnings. We have a Fed that says we're going to beat down inflation, which is the right move. But to beat down inflation looks to mean you're going to have to destroy the economy to do so. Also not good. One of the strange things I think in my lifetime is if we see unemployment that's significant, that's bad. I get that. But there's so many government workers or government affiliated people. I don't see how this thing slows down. Are you going to really fire government workers? So, I mean, it's like, they say, like late stage capitalism, maybe? I don't know. It's just not good. I'd be interested to know what you think. You should probably put it in the comments or put it in the chat. We'll go over it. You might think I'm crazy. I don't know. I don't think I am. I don't want to do any more articles. I think I'm done for tonight. Just going to go here. I will talk for a little while longer. I'm going to remove that. So, anyway, what do you think? I mean, rent versus buy, is that the question? If you're 25 years old right now, are you like, hey, should I rent a house or should I buy it? Doesn't it matter like what your employment is? How about how much money you have for a down payment? What about like, are you planning on working in the same place? Are you planning on moving up? And I think a good real estate agent, like at least I would, if somebody came to me, honestly, if someone came to me and said, John, should I rent or should I buy? I would say, well, it depends on you. What do you have? Like, what do you think you should do in the sense of like, what are your plans? Are you planning on getting married, planning on having kids now? Are you planning on moving now? Like, what are you planning on doing? Are you going to go to grad school? What are you going to do? Like, where's your money going to go? And then and only then would I consider like, yeah, you should probably buy a house. You know? I mean, you should probably buy a house. You say, well, John, they're going to be worth nothing in like 5 years. I've been in the market. I was through the 2007 housing crisis. Houses didn't go to zero. In fact, during that time, I was working with somebody trying to buy foreclosures, and it was terrible. We would always get outbid all the time to where it didn't make sense to rent them out. So I think what people see like with the recession or what they would see with the housing crisis is house prices would go down. Yes. But if you'd bought your house, like let's say, look, if you bought your house in 2006 and you're up, 50% or double, that would be 100%. Do you really care if it goes to 80%? You're still sitting pretty. Like I bought my house in 2007. I think tomorrow I could sell my house for a good amount. I could not sell it for double, but I would be okay. I think it would be pretty good. So anyway, um, yeah. So let's look at the week ahead. I know one day I'm going to Perryville, Missouri. I don't know if I'll be able to stream that day. I've got showings this coming weekend. Some buyers from out of town are coming in, and we're going to go over, we'll go over stuff with them. I think that the market will pick up, at least for me, for buyers and sellers, like in the marketplace this week. I think we'll see more homes available for sale. I am concerned about mortgage rates. We were in the sixes leaving last weekend or leaving Friday. So, that's not good. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think because it's late, I think I'm a little tired. I think that's why I'm not doing any more. I don't know. I think I'm just kind of tired. I don't think there's anything left to say. So, if there's anything you could do for me, subscribe. That would help. Tell me what you think about the new set. Tell me what you think about the new video. Did I get it right? I've been working hard. I mean, really hard on trying to get something that you guys enjoy. Put some money into it, and hopefully this is good. I think with that, I'm going to head out. I don't want to waste your time. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.